Hi, this is Ofori, the digital book reader. I still have a couple housekeeping videos to do. This is my second one, and this one is all about backing up your books. Now, if you're a person who reads a digital book, and if you like the digital book, you end up going to buy a physical copy and putting it in your physical library, this video probably doesn't have a whole lot you're going to be interested in. But if you're a person who buys your digital books, and if you like your digital books, you want to keep your collection of digital books that you enjoy reading, then hopefully some of this information will be helpful to you. So I'm going to kind of go over a couple things that I do and that I would recommend, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you. So the first thing is, I know that Macs and PCs come with their own backup programs built in. For example, Macs have Time Machine, and that's great, and you definitely should use that to back up your whole computer. But you should also buy a backup program. For the PC, when I had PCs, I used to use a program I like to call it Second Copy, and for the Mac, which I currently have, I have a program called Get Backup Pro. The main reason why I like purchasing a backup program is because you can really tailor it to your own needs, as most backup programs for the built-in backup software for the PC and the built-in backup software for the PC and the built-in backup software for the Mac, it's good, but it's really focused on just copying every single thing that's on your computer, where your focus is going to be generally your ebooks and maybe, if you want to, any other media that you might have. So that's why I would definitely suggest buying a backup program. There's a whole host of them. Like I said, those are the ones I like. I would say the prices range anywhere from $25 to $120. I like Second Copy and Get Backup Pro mainly because I'm a person who loves to own things, and I always prefer programs, all things being equal, where you don't have to pay a monthly licensing fee. You can just pay one fee and you own the program. And Second Copy and Get Backup Pro are both programs where you just pay one fee and you own the program. They may have a later version that you might have to pay an upgrade fee for, but you don't have to upgrade. So that's why I like those programs. The link to both of these programs is in the description if you want to look at them. Of course, I'm not paid by these programs. These are just what I use. Second thing I want to, that's important to me, is when you're backing stuff up, for me, I never use encryption and I never use compression. I'm a personal user, so I'm not concerned hacker's gonna come in and crack my pictures of my niece from her 3rd birthday. What I am concerned about, though, is that I can get to the stuff that I back up if I need it. And when you're using encryption and compression, then that means that you need a backup program to open up your backups. And that's why I'm not a huge fan of it. If you don't use encryption and you don't use compression, then all of the stuff your computer backs up is just going to be in regular files that you can open in any browser with a Mac or PC. You can also take those files, for example, for me, I'll often take my backups that are really key and I'll put some of them on Google Drive. But just remember, if you're using encryption and you're using compression in your backups, then you're going to need the software you use to backup to open and view those things. And if something ever happens, if your computer crashes and you don't have access to that backup program, then you're kind of screwed. So that's why I would recommend, and I don't use encryption or compression in my backups. The other thing that I do, and once again, I would recommend people do, is to format your backup drive to EXfat. Now, each computer system has their own preferred way to format a drive, and it works best with that system, and it's the fastest, and it can handle the largest files. So PC has its preferred way you format a drive, Mac has its preferred way you format a drive, and so does Linux. But the reason I recommend EXfat is because EXfat is kind of like early enough in the growth of hard drives that it actually is interchangeable with PCs, Macs, and Linux. So if you have a EXfat drive, you can connect it to a PC, you can see the files, move the files around. If you connect it to a Mac, you can see the files, moving files around. So I like its interchangeability. Now, the only downside to EXfat, well, is two things. One, it's not going to be as fast as a drive formatted specifically to work with a certain PC system or Mac. And it cannot take files larger than 4 gigabytes. Now, if you're backing up ebooks, that's not even an issue. I've never had an ebook ever that was, to be honest, I've never had an ebook that was larger than 250 megabytes. So 300 would be something that, I don't know, maybe if they come out with a sequel to the Bible or something, it'll be that big. But I've never had anything that was over 250 megabytes. So the 4 gigabyte limit isn't even an issue. But what has been an issue to me all the time, for me personally, the biggest concern I have when backing up is making sure that if all my other systems fail, I can take that drive someplace and look at what's on it. So for me, interchangeability, universal use, those are real big keys for me. Always download your books to your computer. This really is for my Kindle lovers, because a lot of people who have Kindles, they kind of use that Kindle as their portal for reading books. So when they buy books, they won't download them to their Kindle. They'll just kind of, because they can see the book and then they download it when they're ready to read it. And that's, that's fine. But just remember that if you don't download your book someplace, then, especially with Amazon, if Amazon suddenly decides that they're not going to support the Kindle or books anymore, and they've done that, they did that in China, and if the people there hadn't downloaded their books, then they've just lost access to all the books they purchased. So that for me is why it's a big thing that whenever I buy a book off from the ebook store, I don't keep it in the cloud until I'm ready to read it. I download it onto my my Mac. And another thing that's important is that when you download these books onto your Mac, it's also important to just kind of check the web, look around the web and see and find out where on that app in your file system the actual books are stored. So for example, in the description, I include the link to where books are stored on the Mac if you have the new Kindle app. So that's something to check, and that way when you back up, you can point your backup program to that folder on your computer so it can just back up those books, and you won't have any issues trying to figure out where the books are when you do need them. Invest in a DVD writer and of course DVD discs. This to me is super important because the key to ebooks is people are going to have a ton of them, but ebooks are so small. There aren't a bunch of 250 megabyte ebooks. Most ebooks generally run, I would say, between 2 and 5 megabytes. So they're small. So currently right now I have 1,900 ebooks. And those 1,900 ebooks total 20 gigabytes of size, all of them combined. So when I'm backing up to DVD, admittedly I do have to back, it does take 5 DVDs to hold all those books, but I only back up to DVD once a year. And the main reason why I do that is because when you back up to DVD, that means that you don't need, electricity. You don't. Once again, you can just take that to any place that can read a DVD, and you can look at it and get your books. So I always like to do that once a year. Also, you'll find that once you do have a DVD writer, you'll find it'll help with a lot of things you want to back up. For me personally, the main things that I like to back up are the tiny things. I like to back up all of the projects I've worked on over my life, whether it be at work or at home, and that means PowerPoints, Word presentations. I like to back up all my music, and I like to back up my books. So those are the things I use it for, and I always feel it's a good investment. The other reason why a DVD writer is a good investment is because, especially, I've recommended the one I use in the description, but if you get a Blu-ray DVD writer, the other reason it's a great investment is because nowadays a lot of people don't have Blu-rays, and if you ever need to do that or you want to look at a movie, you at least have it on your computer. So I definitely would recommend it's worth the investment. And the last piece that's big with me, and I would recommend it with anybody, is just back up in a layered approach. Kind of have a process and try your best to do that process periodically. So for me, I use Time Machine to back up my whole computer, and then I use Get Backup Pro, which is the backup software that I've purchased. I use that to back up my books and my media. And then once a year, I'll back up my books to a DVD. And I would definitely think that it's good to have like a schedule or automation. For me, I have a mixture of both, in that my backup program, Get Backup Pro, once again, I'll probably say this every video, but I live right across the street from a train. It was a godsend when I was working because I could just literally walk across the street, get on the train, and commute to work. Now that I'm retired, every now and then doing these videos, you're going to hear that horn. But back to the subject. As far as, for me, what I did is I had a schedule of once a year backing up my books to DVD. But my backup program is automated so that every month it automatically backs up all of my books, and it knows where all the book folders are stored and automatically backs them up to an external hard drive that I have connected to my computer. So I guess that's it. Hopefully this information is helpful to you. I know at some point I will actually begin to talk about books, but I got a lifetime. So I will see you later, and keep reading.